All right, welcome. Every now and then a company comes along that doesn't just play the game, it completely rewrites the rules. Today, we're going to break down the incredible story of one of those giants. This is our deep dive into Domino's, the 30-minute empire.
So let's kick things off with a question that honestly sounds a little bit crazy. How is it that the biggest pizza chain on the entire planet isn't actually a pizza company? I know, it doesn't make sense at first, but you gotta stick with me here because unlocking that answer, well, it's a total masterclass in business strategy.
See, here's the thing. This story, it's not really about cheese or sauce or even the crust. Not really. This is the story of how Domino's figured out how to hack delivery and then use that hack to basically conquer the world. They weren't trying to make the best pizza. Nope. They were trying to build the best system for getting a pizza to your door.
Okay, so to really get how they pulled this off, we have to rewind the clock a bit. Let's set the scene. Act 1. The pizza delivery problem.
I want you to try and picture it. We're in the 1960s. Pizza isn't something you get delivered. Not really. It's a meal you go out for. Delivery? It was a total afterthought. It was slow, it was unreliable, and honestly, if your pizza showed up even remotely warm, you were having a good day. But this is where Tom Monahan, the founder of Domino's, had his big aha moment. He realized the most valuable place in the world wasn't his restaurant, it was your living room. The real gold mine wasn't in the pizza, it was in mastering the logistics of getting it to that living room. And that one single idea, that obsession with the living room, it led directly to the company's defining moment. Which brings us to Act 2, a promise that changed everything.
And this was it, the promise. 30 minutes or it's free. Now you have to understand, this wasn't just some catchy slogan for a TV ad. No way. This was a public declaration of war on being slow. It was a promise that became a company-wide obsession. It forced every single person, from the top down, to rebuild the entire business around one thing and one thing only: speed.
So how on earth did they actually deliver on that crazy promise? Well, they didn't just try harder, they built a machine. First, the menu. It was ridiculously simple. Pizza, drinks. That's it. No fancy salads or pastas to slow things down. Next, the kitchen itself became an assembly line, almost like a car factory, but for pizzas. Everything optimized for speed. Then, to make sure every pizza was the same, they created a central system that would ship out all the pre-made dough and ingredients. No guesswork. And finally, the masterstroke. They opened franchises everywhere, super fast, creating this dense web of stores so that literally every single house was within that magical 30-minute window.
When you lay it all out, the difference is just staggering, right? A normal pizzeria was a restaurant. Its job was to make a nice meal for people who came in. Domino's? It was a logistics company. Its job was speed. Its kitchen wasn't a kitchen, it was a high-speed factory. And its promise wasn't, hey, we make the best tasting pizza. It was, we will get a hot pizza to your house in under 30 minutes. They weren't in the food business. They were in the logistics business.
So they had completely mastered the logistics game. They were on top of the world. But then, a new challenge popped up, and it was a big one: the internet. And this brings us to Act 3, where Domino's pulls off maybe its most shocking transformation of all, becoming a tech company that just happens to sell pizza.
And look, they didn't just dip their toes in the water here. They dove in headfirst. They were one of the very first to really nail online and mobile ordering because they knew that the easiest order is the one that gets placed. Then in 2008, they launched the legendary Pizza Tracker. And later, they went even crazier with their Anywhere tech, letting you order a pizza from your watch, from your car. You could even just tweet a pizza emoji and a pizza would show up. Their obsession was making it ridiculously easy to give them your money.
Let's just talk about the Pizza Tracker for a second, because it wasn't just a gimmick. It was a work of pure psychological genius. Think about the worst part of ordering food. It's the waiting, right? That black hole of time where you have no idea what's happening. The Pizza Tracker completely solved that. It turned waiting from a frustration into something kind of fun, something you could watch. It gave you back a sense of control. You could say it was the 30 minutes of free promise, just reinvented for the internet age.
Okay, so at this point, they've mastered speed. They've mastered technology. They seem unstoppable. But they had one giant, glaring problem that they just couldn't ignore anymore. And that brings us to the final, most dramatic act in our story. Act 4, the Great Pizza Confession.
So what was the problem? Let's be honest, their pizza was famously bad. People joked about it. And what they did next is, I think, one of the bravest things I've ever seen a big company do. Instead of hiding from the criticism, they leaned into it. They found the meanest things people were saying about them. like this actual quote, and they broadcast it to the entire world.
They called it the Pizza Turnaround Campaign, and it was just brutally honest. Step 1, they stood up and publicly said, "You're right, our pizza isn't good enough." Step 2, they literally put their biggest critics in their commercials. Can you imagine? Then, step 3, they went back to the drawing board for 2 years to create a completely new recipe. By the time they relaunched, this incredible honesty had totally disarmed everyone. It was like they were saying, "We messed up, we listened, and we'd be honored if you gave us a second chance." How could you say no to that?
So did it work? Well, this one number pretty much tells the whole story. In the decade after that campaign, the stock price for Domino's went up by more than 5,000%. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. It became one of the greatest corporate turnaround stories maybe ever, and it proved a powerful lesson. Being honest wasn't just the right thing to do, it was an unbelievably smart business move.
All right, so let's zoom out. We've talked about the crazy promise, the genius tech, that unbelievable confession. So what's the big takeaway here? What's the real secret ingredient in the Domino's recipe for success? It really boils down to this one simple truth. Today, the company that wins is often the company that masters convenience. It's not always about having the absolute best product. It's about how you get that product to the customer. Domino's figured out that they weren't selling pizza. No, they were selling the easy, fast, reliable delivery of a hot meal to your door. They sell convenience, and it just happens to come in a pizza box.
And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. Once you see the world through this lens, you start to see it everywhere. If Domino's is secretly a logistics company, what other big names out there aren't what they seem? What other companies are we thinking of as product companies when really they're just absolute masters of delivery? It's a fun one to think about.
And that's the incredible story of the 30-minute empire. If you love breaking down the hidden strategies behind the world's most fascinating companies just like this, then do us a favor and make sure you subscribe to Finologix. We've got plenty more coming.